Let me ask you something. Suppose you gotta go, number 2, and you know, with a bullet, right? You gotta go and shit. You gotta go badly, right? So you gotta go real bad, and you know, you look around and there's no public toilet. You're out in the street, wherever the fuck, it doesn't matter. You're out in the street, and you gotta shit. You gotta. You're gonna shit your pants if you don't, right? And you're gonna be like all embarrassed and shit. You know, your clothes are gonna be ruined, and you're gonna be stinking, and what have you. Suppose, for instance, you're actually going to a job interview, right? You're going to a job interview for the most important job of your life, right? And you gotta take a shit, and you're on your way, and you got, you know 10 minutes before the interview, right? And you gotta take a shit, and there's no public bathroom, but there's an alleyway. There's an alleyway, right? And you know, it's just a service alley or whatever the hell. And well, you gotta take a shit. There's no public toilet. There's no way you can change or go home or this or that or the other. You gotta take a crap, and so what do? Well, you know, you bite the bullet and you go to the alleyway and you pull down your pants and you take a crap, right? Disgusting. Yes, it's disgusting. No question. You're being really fucking disgusting if you get right down to it. But well, you know, what's a nigger gonna do, right? I mean, what are you supposed to do in that circumstance, in that specific hypothetical, right? You're just gonna have to take a crap because, I mean, you can't hold it in, right? Or maybe you could, but I'm guessing that if you really did hold it in, something horrible would happen to you, right? You'd become like a shit bomb, you know what I'm saying? Right. And, you know, and suppose you get to your interview in 10 minutes time, you didn't take a crap, and you're gonna be all stressed out, and you're gonna perform poorly, you know, it's gonna be a big old mess, right? Right. Nobody has any kind of qualms about taking a crap in an alleyway when there's no public bathroom. I mean, yeah, of course, it's disgusting and all the rest of it. Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, everybody understands it because taking a crap is just a natural bodily function, right? Same with a guy. Same with sex. Same with, you know, a hooker or an escort, right? There are going to be times in your life when you just gotta go. Simple as that. Okay? I mean, there are going to be times in your life where you are either not getting laid because of whatever reason, or you just do not have the time to cultivate a relationship. Now, this is going to be the shocker for you, especially when you're younger. You will not believe how later on in life you will not have relationships because you simply do not have the time, because you're doing so many things insofar as your career, your business, what have you, that you don't have the time to wine and dine some chick. You don't have the time to get to know her and you know, get comfortable and wind up at her place. You just won't have the time or the interest, really. Okay? You'll be surprised too that sometimes getting laid will be the easy part. Getting rid of the girl will be the hard part. Yeah, I'm serious. There was a time in my life I remember very clearly. I was 30 years old. I was living in Manhattan. There was this girl called Ann C. And I fucked her like on the first or second date, right? But she kept hanging around. She wouldn't leave. She wouldn't take the hint. You know, we'd had our fun, but you know, the chick didn't go, right? Don Simpson, the famous Hollywood film producer, he once had a great saying about hookers and escorts. He said, you don't pay them to come over, you pay them to leave. That's very true, okay? Don't have any qualms about hiring a hooker or an escort. Don't have any qualms at all. Sometimes it's just simply necessary because you don't have the time and you need to get laid. A lot of times you will find that once you've had sex, you chill out, you even out. I mean, I don't know what the hell happens exactly, your hormones, this, that, the other. I mean, the science is beyond me. I've never claimed to be a scientist. But what I have observed in myself and in other men is that after you get laid, especially after a hiatus, after you get laid, you're just more relaxed, more confident. Things just come together more easily. I mean, I'm talking about like in real world and the shit that you do, right? And yeah, you know, it's as simple as this. Now, here's the problem with hookers and escorts. See, in a lot of places, it's illegal, okay? I am not advocating that you break the law of wherever you are. Okay, I'm not advocating that at all. Okay, far be it from me to advocate breaking the law. What I am saying is that if you are in a place where you cannot hire a hooker or an escort, then go to such a place where you can. Okay, there is a whole district in Amsterdam, the red light district, famous. They have some of the most beautiful women on earth and all kinds of sexual degeneracy if you get right down to it. But they do have the most beautiful women in the world that you can hire, you know, for 100 euros, a couple of €100. And you can have great sex, you know, with some of the most beautiful women ever assembled on the face of this earth, and it's perfectly legal. The ticket from, I don't know, like say Los Angeles, to give an example, all the way to Amsterdam, it's the farthest point I can think of offhand. It can't be what, round trip, Expedia with hotel stay for a week? It can't be more than $500, something like that. I mean, if you really are not getting laid, if you are a total incel, if you have never been able to experience sex, well, then go and fix this problem. See, hookers and escorts, see, they are providing a service, sexual services for, you know, a fairly reasonable amount, $100, $200, maybe even $500 for more expensive hookers, right? But it's within the realms of anybody, okay? So if you say, well, you know, I can't get laid, I'm an incel, I'm this, that, the other, I'm just not, you know, able to have sex. Of course you're able to have sex. The issue is that you might be squeamish about it. That's reasonable. I mean, in my own case, I'll freely admit, I never hired a hooker until I was in my 30s. I never hired a hooker until I was in my 30s because I thought it was kind of disgusting, to tell you the truth. I would just, how can I put it? I would just grind out my fallow periods of not getting any sex and just, you know, masturbate, you know. I would not hire a hooker or an escort because I thought it was kind of grim, disgusting, this, that, the other. What happened was that I got to the income level where I could afford to hire an expensive hooker. I could afford to hire somebody who's just like, you know, a catalog model who was doing it as a side business. In New York, where I was living at the time when I was like 30, lots of girls, catalog models, incredibly good-looking girls, they hooked on the side. It was their side business. A lot of times, the hooking gave them more income than the modeling work, in a lot of cases. That's why you don't date a model, by the way. Okay, at least you don't date one of these third, fourth tier models unless you know her real well. Because a lot of these girls are hookers. A lot of them are hooking, especially in big cities like New York, Paris, Milan. In those fashion centers, a lot of these girls, they flock there, they don't get any work, they wind up hooking. Okay, so anyway, that's just a parenthesis to the wider issue, the bigger issue of hookers and escorts. Don't feel squeamish about it. Be practical. Okay, there are going to be times in your life that for whatever reason you simply cannot get laid. You're just going to be striking out, you know, time after time after time with girl after girl after girl, and it's just every guy has gone through such a period. Okay, and your body physically needs to get laid. Okay, you start going crazy, and no amount of masturbation is going to fix it. Okay, you have to have sex with a real life flesh and blood woman. You know, I actually think that a lot of these robots that they're talking about, these sex robots, they're, you know, people aren't gonna go for them. You know, I don't think that hookers are gonna lose a client, to tell you the truth, because there is something about, you know, being physically with another human being. Having sexual intercourse with another human being. I think that there's like some sort of chemical or hormone or something like that. Like I said, I do not know the science of it, but I'm sure of it from my own experience and from what I've heard other guys talking about. When you are going through a fallow period, when you are simply not getting laid, okay, it starts to affect your mood. It starts to affect your behavior. It starts to affect your mood and behavior in ways that are extraordinarily negative. They can hurt your business, your employment, your relationships with other people. I've seen it in myself. I've noticed it in myself. That when I'm not getting laid, when I'm not getting it on the regular, I'm moodier, I am less productive. I sort of like do a lot of things but never really complete anything. you know. I wind up spending a lot of time, wasting a lot of time on, you know, internet, going on the internet, doing things that aren't really productive. But when I'm getting laid on the regular, everything's a-okay. Everything's perfectly fine. You need it. So don't go against your nature. Be practical. Hire an escort, hire a hooker. Now, how do you do it? Now, first of all, never hire a streetwalker. Never, never, never. Never hire a streetwalker. Never just some random girl on the street. No. What you do is if it's legal where you are, you go to an escort page, right? And, you know, they'll have girls there and you can pick one. Now, if you're in a hotel, lots of times the concierge can help you out. If you're in a hotel in a foreign city, don't go through some web page, but rather go through a concierge, because frankly, if you're in a city that you don't know, you know, you could wind up getting robbed or all kinds of problems. So if you go through a concierge, he'll take a cut, okay, because that's the nature of the game. But he'll set you up with some nice girl and, you know, it'll be fine, right? Pay up front, right, always, because a girl will ask you, and she'll ask right up front. If the sex is not satisfying or the experience is not satisfying for whatever reason, just write it off. Don't bother arguing with the girl. Don't say, oh, you want your money back or some crazy ass shit like that. Just write it off and just like, okay, bad experience. You bad experience and you move on. It's happened to me, okay? It's happened to me that, you know, I've been with some escort and, you know, it was just a kind of like unpleasant experience, and what am I supposed to do? You know, these transactions are not money back guaranteed, okay? You got to understand that. Now, sometimes you're going to wind up with some girl, some hooker, who's just charming. She's just a lovely girl. She is a hooker. She's not a potential girlfriend. Yeah, she's going to fuck you and you're going to have a great time with her, but she is a hooker. Never forget that. I'm saying this because, I mean, like in my case, I have never, you know, misunderstood or misconstrued the relationship I've had with a hooker, okay? But I know guys who have. It was shocking, you know? I remember having a conversation with a guy I knew from high school, known him all my life, and a relatively smart man, okay? Not a complete fucking idiot. And he was saying that he was seeing this girl, and he saw her, you know, once or twice a week, and he was paying her, but, you know, he felt really close to her. And I was like, what are you fucking talking about? She is a hooker. And he started, yeah, but I think that she might have feelings for me. Fucking moron, man. She doesn't have feelings for the son of a bitch. She had feelings for his wallet. She had feelings for the fact that he was willing to pay her, you know, $200-300 a pop once or twice a week, you know, for God knows how long he was seeing her. Eventually, the stupid son of a bitch wised up, you know, thank God. But, you know, never fall into that habit. Now, some guys are just romantics and they fall into that habit. Well, then if you are that guy, then what you do is that you fuck a hooker once and you never see her again. Yeah? Yeah. That's if you are like that. I mean, I personally am not like that, you know? I mean, I can fuck a girl 10 times and just forget about her. But some guys, you know, they fuck a girl twice and they fall in love, you know? Be smart, okay? This is a transaction that's going on, okay? It's a business transaction, okay? She's providing a service. Think of a masseuse, for instance. A masseuse, I'm not talking about, you know, a happy ending massage. I'm talking just a regular masseuse who comes and you know, massages you and, you know, makes you feel great at the end of it. Do you develop some sort of romantic interest in such a person? Well, they were touching you intimately. Yeah, but they were providing a service, okay? Okay, so I'm sorry to go on about this, but the fact of the matter is, I've heard actually more than one guy, more than one guy who's fallen for the hooker that they're seeing, you know? Because there was this one guy I told you about, but I've heard through the grapevine of 2-3 other cases. And one guy actually, I am not going to repeat the story because it sounded so outrageous that I can't believe it was actually true, but apparently this guy was willing to leave his wife and kids for the hooker. For the fucking hooker, okay? And by the way, a lot of married guys, you know, you're gonna find a lot of times, especially, you know, after the kid, that, you know, the woman, the wife, is just not interested in having sex. She's just not. She's just taking care of the kids. She's exhausted. She's breastfeeding, maybe, right? Smart thing, you know, go down and visit some hooker somewhere. Some good escort who can take care of you, right? And you'll be happy. Now, you could say, well, you're cheating on your wife. No, come on, don't be fucking naive, okay? This isn't like cheating on her. You're not gonna run away from your wife because of the fucking hooker. Well, the story I just mentioned to the contrary. But no, the reality is that a lot of times, you know, your woman is just not gonna be up for sex, and you're gonna go through fallow periods with your wife. Precisely because of usually childbearing, you know? I mean, having a kid takes a lot out of a woman, okay? Don't think otherwise, okay? Think of it from her point of view. She just, you know, had a kid. She's just not up for sex, and sometimes she's not gonna be up for sex for, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 months, okay? Now, if you wanna grind it out on just, you know, the hand, that's perfectly fine. But, you know, go visit a hooker and don't think of it as cheating your wife. It's just taking care of a bodily function. Okay? I mean, that's the point I'm trying to emphasize here. It is just a bodily function, nothing more. It's just like taking a crap, okay? You gotta take a crap sometime, you go and you take a crap. Don't feel as if you're doing something incredibly immoral, okay? And don't feel sorry for these girls, okay? These girls who are hooking, okay? Look, they made up their minds to hook for a living as opposed to getting a good job. They made up their minds that they were going to do something that I personally, if I were a woman, I would never do. I think that a woman who has had more than 2 or 3 sexual partners, she starts to lose something of her soul. I think that hookers who have, you know, maybe 2 or even 5 people that they fuck per day, you know, their soul, their inner being, the thing within them, I think it just gets ruined, you know. A hooker, a girl who decides to become a hooker, is ruining herself, as far as I'm concerned. But, well, you know, she made up her mind. She's an adult, right? I mean, she's over 21 or whatever, and she is acting as an adult. So it's not your responsibility, and don't ever think that it's your responsibility. Quite frankly, that's morally narcissistic, quite frankly. If you think that, oh, you know, I shouldn't be with this hooker because I'm turning her into a hooker. No, if it's not you, it's going to be some other guy, okay? So never think of it in those terms. Think of it in terms of what is necessary for you, okay? What is necessary for you, and understand that these girls are always going to be around. Hookers, escorts, whores, prostitutes, however you want to call them, they have existed since time immemorial, okay? They will always exist, okay? Always. Because of the reality of the situation, a man has to make an effort to find a woman to fuck. A girl can just decide that she wants to have sex, and within a day she'll find somebody to have sex with, okay? So it will always exist, and there will always come times in your life when you simply are not able to get a girl to have sex with you. It's just the nature of being a guy. And so don't suffer in vain. Don't hold up to some ridiculous notion of morality. Think of it in the practical sense. Hire a good escort, hire a good hooker, have a nice time, and move on.